Welcome to Cultivating Community Conversations. I'm Todd Thompson, President and CEO of the Greater Pensacola Chamber of Commerce. Cultivating Community Conversations is sponsored by Step One Automotive. We appreciate Step One for their support of Cultivating Community Conversations and the Greater Pensacola Chamber of Commerce. Today, we have Connie Bookman. She is the founder and CEO of Pathways for Change. Connie, welcome to Cultivating Community Conversations.
Thank you. It's exciting to be here.
Great. So tell us, what exactly is Pathways for Change and what type of work do y'all do?
So the pandemic provided an incredible opportunity for us. And I remember walking through, different steps as things were changing. And my staff would, I'd be talking about the new thing that we were going to be the challenge that we had and the opportunity, and they were like, "Are you freaking out?" It's like, nope. Mm-hmm. I just know from the bottom of my soul that we have an exciting future. And so we had our women veterans facility had some structural issues. Okay. And so on Veterans Day 2019, we closed those doors, made sure all the women were placed in secure housing, and then it was April of 2020 that we normally have our three major fundraisers, and raised about $325,000 that would fund our family center. All three of those shut down. So it's like, okay, well, we have to be big boys and girls, and we're going to come up with a plan. So we leased our family center to a federal program. We have a strong revenue stream through that. And I said, there's a positive. They have a beautiful facility that they can carry out our mission. And then we had our men's program that was 16 years old that we founded in the jail, moved to County Work Release Center. And again, with complications with COVID and needing space, we were not funded again for that. So again, people are like, "Are you freaking out?" And it's like, no, because this is so bizarre that there's got to be something phenomenal. So November 6th, we found out a year and a half ago that we were not going to move forward, moved out of that dorm after 16 years. And it was that Sunday, November 22nd, that I just had this beautiful praise and worship in my home. And I just was going to read the Sunday paper. And that doesn't happen very often. Right. It's usually like, let's get on to the 14 things I'm going to do today. Right. And it was all about homelessness, and 2 pages. And at the end of that story, they said, we're going to take a social worker, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker, a cop, and Brittany Austin, who was an employee, was a Pensacola police officer, and we hired her to do our inmate assessments. So they're going to take a social worker, a cop, and a downtown businessman. And we're going to figure this out. We're going to start interviewing the homeless, and we'll come up with a plan. Mm-hmm. And so I got very excited about that. And I texted Brittany that Sunday and said, "I want to talk to you and your husband this afternoon. I've got something I want to talk about." So in 2010, Pathways for Change, we launched the reentry task force, and it was a collective impact model, and it was amazing. In 4 years, we got so much accomplished for men and women reentering Escambia County, and that collective impact, that's collaboration, it's getting people to talk, coming up with new ideas. So I knew that's what we had to do, and I knew that we needed to do what this article said. We need to start talking to the homeless. So I say, Brittany, we're going to start walking Martin Luther King Drive. We're going to start interviewing. And she's like, "Well, what do you have my husband on here for?" And it's like, "Well, because, we're going to be walking and talking to the homeless." And she's like, "I don't need his permission." So she's so strong. But anyway, so we decided that we were going to start that. So that week, I started interviewing, and I've kept every single interview I had over those 6 months. And over 200 people signed up. Wow. And, as I was talking with people, it's like I started understanding how we establish each of the subcommittees. So obviously one is housing. Mm-hmm. And thankfully, Meredith Reeves and Marcy Whitaker are the co-chairs of that. And then the other was healthcare, which was Chandra Smiley and Jules Carrier. And we've actually, after a year of the healthcare and then the mental health subcommittee, we've combined those, and we're really making greater strides. So that's how Pathways for Change has moved from daily programming to me, just leading the task force.
Right. So what are the components of the task force? You mentioned housing and mental health. Are there others?
So you have housing, and now it's health, mental health, addiction, case management. So that's one thing that we look at. And as I'm talking about these subcommittees, just understand everyone's taken inventory. Everyone is understanding what the gaps are, what the problems are, and it's bringing people together to go, wow. I mean, so George Stone and Career Source Escarosa are strong partners now because they got to know each other and what value they could bring to each other. So you have that subcommittee, and then Marcus McBride and Jesse Wolf have the employment, workforce development, education subcommittee. One of the another amazing is Jennifer Tompkins and Ashley Wilkinson-Meyer run the faith-based organization, food programming, mentoring, transportation. And what's exciting about that is on September 7th, of which you're on our advisory committee, thank you, you'll hear about the food mapping and the data that they've been taking of who's doing what when. Okay. So just think about how beautiful this scenario is going to be. Laura Gilliam on September 7th from 12 to 1:30 is going to be facilitating. We'll bring that visual map that will say, here, obviously here's Manna, here are all the big players, here are the little churches that have this amazing heart, here are the bigger churches that are doing this. But what if we find that there are 10 organizations providing food on Tuesday at 12 o'clock. And nobody's doing it Wednesday, So just that discussion, that's the kind of thing this task force does. So very excited about that. And then you have Allison Patton and Ronnie Rivera running the legal services and specialty court and criminal justice subcommittee. And again, you've got all these subcommittees talking to each other. So we were able to take the idea of mentorship to the criminal justice subcommittee. We have 5 mentors working with drug court clients. So there are people, and I know this because they were our men that were court ordered to Pathways for Change, they have no support. How are they going to succeed? But if they've got somebody that's a trained mentor, and it's usually 2 or 3 mentoring. So think about what we're going to do. Just shoring up and making better, the resources we have in our community.
So at the end of the day, what does success look like? What's the goal?
Success looks like a meeting I just came from. We're gaining attention, like the Wellness Center, the Maxwell Center that you were there last night at that grand opening, that ribbon cutting. Word is out that there's exciting things happening in Pensacola. And so we have somebody from out of town saying, this is doable. Like, I'm going to come from Arizona and be able to establish my nonprofit here and replicate what I'm doing because you guys get it. Meeting with politicians. I mean, the support that our mayor has given us. And, we have many of our meetings at City Hall. The mayor. So this was kind of interesting, and I'm going to divert just a second. Our subcommittee launched in May last year, and it was probably June or July that Mayor Robinson called me and said, would your task force help us figure out how we're going to spend $3.1 million for homelessness? And so we got very involved with City Council and the organizations to say, what do you think here? And got the community involved. So a lot of people think that it's a mayor's task force, and it really isn't. It's just 200 community members and 6 subcommittees.
So how can the business community support your efforts? What can they do to get involved?
Wow, So there's a fantastic thing that's rolling around in the two of the subcommittees. Here's a for instance. If a car dealership, and I've spoken to several and they're interested, I just need to put a proposal together, but just say you've got a car that is not going to be worth that much to you as a trade-in.
Right.
What if you diagnosed that car, told us what the issues were, gave it to one of two nonprofits, United Ministries and 90 Works, and they vetted the people that are working, but struggling to get to work.
Right.
So what if we were able to fix that car? I know CareerSource, if they meet the criteria, they have $1,000 that will go toward car repair. So how beautiful, to be able to have, breathe in the morning to know I'm going to get in my car and get to work and then be able to pick up my kids and get home.
Right. Yeah. Transportation is such a huge issue.
Right. So that's something, that's out there. Of course, we're begging for housing, rental, affordable housing that unfortunately is 50% AMI because rents are so expensive. So how do we get creative? And we're meeting with a lot of organizations that are very strong that understand it. Think about our seniors that cannot afford gentrification,
Right.
I mean, we love the development that we see, but they can't afford their taxes now. So how are we going to do, something wonderful for them and provide that? So we're advocating for housing. We're doing that. As a matter of fact, God bless me, I became a member of the Florida Housing Coalition, and I'm going to their conference the end of August. And I'm going to learn about this, and I'm going to, speak to people that can get this done.
Right. Wow. I mean, it's just so much work that's been done, so much progress that's been made in such a short period of time. It's really exciting to hear.
It's miracles. Mm-hmm.
So if folks want to get involved, if they want to contact you to help, what's the best way to do that?
The best way, we would love to, bring you on the task force in any of the areas. Just go to reducinghomelessness.com, reducinghomelessness.com, and or the pathwaysforchange.org will take you to that site. But you can look at our, we're about to launch our annual report, but there are, the goals and objectives that we started with and how we've accomplished those over the last year. That will be on there. When the subcommittees, who they are, who the chairs are, and when do they meet and where. So if you don't have to commit to being a member, just to say, I'm interested to see what Ashley and Jennifer are doing, leading the faith-based organization.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know. So another exciting thing is I've met with a couple pastors who are interested in, just say there's county land in the city limits or land that's available, city or county, that they could take, raise the money, and build a home for a family. Mm-hmm. And then that church mentors that family.
Right.
And it's ugly, the kid's going to throw the baseball through the window, but that's the high level blessing stuff that we're called to do.
Right, right. So lots of ways to help, lots of ways to get involved. It's such tremendous work. Thank you so much for what you're doing. It's so important. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Connie Bookman with Pathways for Change, thank you for being on Cultivating Community Conversations today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for watching Cultivating Community Conversations, sponsored by Step One Automotive. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.